Russell, we'll talk about your results in a moment, but really the exciting news for people in South Africa is that from September, from next month, you're going to be able to trade gold, platinum, and oil. These are commodities that we've never been able to trade in this country. Sure, you can buy and sell Kruger Rands, but there's always a premium and there's a risk involved in going and collecting the Kruger Rands. But this is a big breakthrough, and part of your relationships that you have with the Chicago Board of Trade. You launched maize futures, or corn futures as they called it there, earlier this year. Has that been going well enough to bring these new ones on?
Yes, and we're one of the few exchanges in the world that they are prepared to do this type of thing with, which I think says a lot for South Africa. So very nice, as you say, that we can bring these other commodities, so transform it from a purely agricultural exchange into commodities exchange. And then two things very important, Alec. You must have the systems to be able to offer the service, because we have to keep the Reserve Bank happy, keep all the clients happy. And then, of course, you need the market makers. Very important. You need market makers who are able to lay off their risk overseas. So normally implies that there must be a overseas office involved. And if you can put those two things together with the natural demand for the product, then you start cooking with gas.
So just to understand it very simply, if I think the oil price is going to go up, as from next month, I'll be able to go long on a position in oil. Up until now, I haven't been able to.
You will be
in rands.
Always rand denominated, yes, and always cash settled. So you won't be getting.
Might get barrels of oil.
Barrels of oil delivered to your office.
David's very disappointed. He'd like. But I don't think too many people want barrels of oil delivered. But the same with platinum.
Yes.
Now that is an unusual opportunity. We know a lot of people internationally trade gold, but platinum.
Yes, and we haven't dreamed these things out sitting at the JSE in isolation. This is as a result of a demand for the product. Then it's up to intermediaries like us, because that's what we are saying. Okay, we can provide the systems, and we've got contacts with the market makers. We go to the market makers, or sometimes it's the market makers coming to us to say, guys, they've got clients who want these products. Can you now provide the service?
It's normalizing our investment community here in South Africa.
Yes.
You need the systems, and that's something that you've been doing at the JSE very differently. I was reading Gary Hamel recently, and he's the man who brought out in the early 1990s the whole philosophy of core competency. Stick to what you're good at, outsource everything else. You did outsource your IT. You brought it all in-house. What happened there?
We got it wrong. Our service provider couldn't deliver at the end of the day. Very disappointing, because it's a good service provider that is very experienced in this field internationally, but they couldn't deliver it in South Africa. So no point in us being able to blame somebody. We didn't deliver the product to our user base at the end of the day. So it'll be a long time before I outsource that function again. We've had to rebuild an entire IT department from 9 people to now close to 150 people. Now, you've got a shortage in skills in South Africa to start off with. We inherited all the code that had been written to date. We then had to establish, is that code worth anything? Fortunately, it was, but we had to get to understand it and then finish it. And we almost finished with the programming side. And then we're leaving ourselves more than a year to just test over and over and over again, because that is a huge piece of software that has to deliver a big service to the broking community when it goes in eventually.
Is it going to be a big upgrade on what you have at the moment?
Yes, big upgrade, much more functionality, much easier to change as and when people want to change it. You know, that's the way stuff has to be today. You can't put something on the desk and say, okay, guys, we'll change it again in 2 years' time. You have to be. So this is the new generation of software that will be put there. It'll be much more user friendly. We've built in all the extra things that people want compared to the old system. And then, very importantly, as I've said, when people then want that changed again, much easier to do.
The old system's working well enough, though.
Yeah, correct.
You've got big volumes going through the JSE right now. Why do you
Huge.
need a new system?
Yeah, because the old system, a very good question. The old system is now close to 25 years old. Dave will know that. And fortunately, it works. And I don't know what we'd have done if it didn't work, because with these volumes that we are doing, you need systems that work.
There's going to be a bit like the airline companies. Comair and SAA tell us that they buy these new planes, which are much more energy efficient, and as a result, their margins will improve. In your case, you would like to make trading cheaper, clearly. Is the new system going to be able to let you do that?
I hope it, but I'm not going to promise that that we can, as a result of that, do it cheaper. But if nothing else changes and you can put on the desk something which gives you much more functionality, then in effect you've either given a discount or you haven't introduced a price increase.
You've been innovating a lot, Russell, particularly in your results today. You talk about, and we hear all the time on Moneyweb, we will go through on this radio program the different introductions like the RDX. Now we've got trading in gold, platinum and oil soon. You've got the Africa board that's come through. You are also introducing new derivatives, it seems, at a regular basis. Isn't there maybe some kind of a danger that you're innovating too much?
Well, we have been accused of that as well. On one day, we've been accused of innovating too much and not innovating enough. We just hope to stay close to all our clients. You know, and our clients are smart people. Most of them, or many of them, have got international offices. Not that everything that comes from overseas is good, as we saw last year. Much that comes from overseas is often bad. But they are just responding to their clients. And I must emphasize, we're not sitting in a vacuum and just putting these things on the table hoping people want to use them. All these new things that you are reading about and experiencing are a direct result of demand, either coming directly from the client or through the client, through the broker or the investment banker to us.
But it does dissipate your energies, and I ask this because you have paid nearly R250 million for the bond exchange.
Yes.
You now need to integrate that into YieldX and find products for the market to take up interest rate products, which we in South Africa have been far behind other parts of the world. If you talk to people in the US, for instance, they all know what a bond is. If you ask people in South Africa, they think it's something to do with their home loan.
Look, I'd far rather have this problem, having too much to do, than have the problem of having nothing to do. You know, I regard it as an absolute privilege as having a job in the first place, and I regard it as an even greater privilege having a job that you actually enjoy in the second place. Now, fortunately, you know my team. Many of them appear here. Those are guys and girls who just want to get involved and stay involved with things that make sense. I guess my management challenge at the end of the day is to make sure that we don't run off in 50 directions when we can only resource-wise afford to run off in 20 directions.
The whole bond exchange acquisition must be, well, you have said it was the highlight of the 6-month period. They must be introducing new exciting opportunities for you and, by definition, South African investors.
That's got huge potential. A market that's 19 trillion rand turnover per annum. That has to suggest that get it right, offer more functionality, then the 19 trillion rand should start looking like 30 trillion rand. Now, if you can't make money as an exchange out of 30 trillion rand turnover, then I don't know. The mere purchase of BISA doesn't in itself solve any of the problems. It certainly removes the noise out of the system, because now the two teams have been totally integrated. That's already taken place. And then will now, from tomorrow, start consulting with everybody that wants to be consulted as to what does this new market look like.
Russell Loubser, Chief Executive of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And